G'day everyone, and welcome back to episode 10 of Baggers Podcast 24. I'm your host, Carlton Blues 24, and you are?
Louis from the Perth Blue Baggers pod.
Today, we are so lucky enough to be joined by Terry from Blue Abroad. Thank you so much for joining us, Terry. How are you today?
Lads, it's a pleasure. I'm well. I'm getting over the end of the season slowly, but more importantly, congratulations on 10 episodes. Good stuff.
Thank you, mate. We really do. Trying our best all year, knuckling down, and we'll get straight into it. We've got just a few questions to ask you about the season and just a few other things. I'll start off with my first question. Obviously, earlier on this season, you did an interview with Lachie Cowan, maybe in July, something like that. We just want to know, what did you find positive about Lachie Cowan's season? Obviously, a little bit more game time this year, really developing as that kind of key back sort of like style. Got a bit of swagger about him. What do you think about his season this year?
You know, I reckon the most impressive part about Lachie Cowan is his fearlessness and his ability to earn the trust of his teammates and his club at such a young age. You know, sometimes you can find out a lot about people when you throw them in the deep end. And I think every time he was asked to do a role, he did the role, performed it well. And you can see he's still learning, but he's so reliable at such a young age. And I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly agree. Definitely seen a lot more from him this year. And it's honestly great to start watching him. And he's going to develop into a real player in the next 10 years. I can tell you that now. But we'll go on to my second question, where you met another player, Ollie Hollins. This is my favourite player from the Blues. What do you gather from his season? Obviously, earlier on, he had a bit of a rough start. It was a bit of more a slow start for him. And probably the back end of the season, he's really started to find his groove with Blake Acres on the wing. What do you make up of his season?
I reckon his role was misunderstood by a lot of us. A lot of us will look at the numbers, the stats, disposal efficiency, and they are important things. They're not important, but he was playing a role. His defensive running is, if you listen to the interview that I did with him, there's a little secret that he maybe gives out a little bit there, where he talks around his role and what he's focusing on, and that's his ability to run back in defensive transition and then, use his overlap run to provide an option when we're going forward. So I think early in the season, he's probably just figuring out his running patterns. And then by the end of the season, we started to see his role shift. Acres and him would switch opposite wings, and, we'd start seeing him get a little bit more of the ball. And then we started seeing him play a little bit more across halfback. So yeah, I think by the end, you started noticing his running power and his leg. I mean, he's always had running power, but you started seeing the power through his legs develop, and then the confidence came. And I think it's a big year 3 coming up for Ollie.
Yeah, certainly.
Definitely agree there. My third question is, you obviously are followed by a lot of Carlton players too. Who is the friendliest Carlton player that you have met?
Oh, that's a really good question. Who is the friendliest Carlton player that I've ever met? Zach Williams would be the friendliest Carlton player that I've ever met.
Definitely agree. Never met him, but for me, mine would be Matthew Kennedy, just the gentle giant. What about you, Louis, for your favourite Carlton player that you've met?
I haven't really met a lot because I live over here in Perth. I don't get to, many of the open training sessions, but the captain's runs, been there. Probably Cripps, Charlie Curnow, Wheaters, actually. Wheaters once got a nice photo with him. So, he was pretty willing and happy to do that. So
he's got big hands, Jacob.
Yeah.
Absolutely gigantic. And fourth question, favourite moment from this season, Tez? What do we reckon is the favourite moment from this season?
Favourite moment from this season? I was home in Melbourne for opening round, so I wasn't there when Mackay kicked the game-winning goal. So that would probably be my favourite one. But in terms of when I was there, I remember the final siren after Geelong when we beat them and thinking, oh my God, we've arrived. This is it. This is us.
Mm.
So, yeah, there's two. One that I was there for and one that I wasn't there for.
Definitely. My third last question is, where do we see Cooper Lord in the last 5 years, or in the next 5 years? Obviously saying just a really good player in him. He's got the most, pressure in the Saints game, I think it was. And we've really found a player. Obviously, we got Jackson Binns, Ashton Moyer. But this man, I think we've really found a player in Cooper Lord. Picked him up mid-season rookie draft. And he's really just been knuckling down and really doing his job in the middle. Obviously, we had Ches out, and he just, who else was it? There was a few other players that were out. Backs up against the wall. He's so young, just to step up with that raw talent. What do you make of his? Where do you see him in the next 5 years?
Hopefully still at the club. Looks like a find. Would be really excited to see him with a couple of pre-seasons under his belt. Still very raw and very young. But yeah, hopefully in 5 years. What would be great is if he was able to perform at a level where he forced himself into the team and forced the selectors to pick him every week, because that would mean that he's improving out of sight, and that would mean that the group's improving. So yeah, hopefully he's on the way up.
Yeah, I'll hand over to my co-host Louis. You've obviously got a few questions.
Yeah.
Let's do it, Louis.
Yeah, so we're going to get into a bit more of the deeper stuff, mostly around consistency. So it was a very big issue this year for us. What do you think needs to change for us to maintain a high level of performance through the next season?
Oh. Well, we need to be honest. We need to be committed. We need to be open to being vulnerable in order for that honesty to happen. We need to create better habits, and we need to see better commitment away from the football club, because everyone's committed when they get to work. But I think we need to see a better level of commitment outside of the football club, because ultimately premierships are probably won or lost away from each football club, because everyone's training hard when they're inside their club. So that's my guess. I don't know, but that's my best guess.
Yeah, it's very hard to knuckle down to the one reason why there was such a big drop-off this season, from mid-season in the last few weeks. And then there's also come to injuries. So how predominant do you think injuries were to how differently we played, and structure-wise or whatever, and what needs to what management and preparation needs to be done to avoid it?
Yeah, look, it sucked. We had 2 spikes. Early in the season, we had 13 on the injury list. Late in the season, I think we had 18 or 19 on the injury list. Not ideal. We held the leader of the high performance team accountable, and we've now got a new head of high performance that's going to start next year. So I like that things have been done proactively and we've made the move. But like I said earlier, and I'm really mindful of this, I think we need to be really careful not to just blame it on Andrew Russell. And again, going back to what I just said, the players, I mean, these are men, these are adults. Some of them are young adults, but a lot of them are now in their mid-20s to late 20s. And so, it's on them to do their diligence throughout the week, because ultimately the new high-performance guy is going to come in, draw up a program for each player, and they're going to follow it when they're at the club. But are they going to be doing the extras outside of the club? So, the injuries hurt us. They really did. But also, we were pretty healthy when our form dip happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to determine. Then what sort of areas of our game plan and structure does need work on to maintain that consistency next year?
I think every time we try and advance the game plan and add layers to the basics, the contest and pressure, every time we try and do that, we seem to not be able to put it all together. So I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I don't know if that's the player's ability to absorb information and execute on it. I don't know if they believe in it. I do believe a lot of what we are seeing is an issue in the mind as opposed to their talent levels and their skill levels. And a big part of it is their concentration. So, and their ability to stay in the moment when the pressure turns on and, the opposition are coming at them and they've figured out their game plan, for example, and you have those patches where teams get a run on you and they have momentum. And so our ability to work through that, it's got to improve.
Yeah. Obviously we tried to add the scoring from turnover sort of game plan, didn't we? Probably over the last off season. But then we sort of forgot what we were good at the year before. Clearances, maybe. I've seen a little bit of a drop off there. But then there's also, obviously mental resilience is key to success. So do you think the current group has the mental strength to be able to handle the pressure of chasing a premiership next year?
I don't know. Does that mean no? If it's a yes or no question, I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
And if I can't say yes, do I have to say no? I hope so.
Surely we can have some extra determination next year after 2 disappointing losses in a row.
Yeah,
there's
a difference, I think, between motivation and discipline. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is what happens when your motivation is not there. And so I think we need a better level of that because we start seeing inconsistencies and patches, and they look great for a month, and then they look poor for a month. So maybe it's all in their discipline.
Yeah. And a little bit, what do you think our priorities are in terms of recruitment this year?
Well, durability is a big one. I think we need to shore up our defense, particularly a replacement in case Wiedering was to get hurt. I actually think a lot of what we're going to see in the offseason will be work within. We did a piece with Pommy on the Monday show last night, and I think we need to temper our expectations of, trading and delisting 6-7 players and bringing in 6-7 players. We just don't have the room for that. Dan Houston's a name that's been thrown up. If we're going to go get him, does that mean we have to shuffle one of those pieces into the midfield or somewhere else on the ground? I don't know, but we need durable players that can kick the football at a consistently high level, and players that can make great decisions under pressure.
Yeah, very much a dilemma. So how do you think the team should approach next season to ensure they learn from the disappointment of this year and come back stronger together?
Ooh, with a level of humility, a high level of humility, and I think a level of gratitude of the position that they're in and the competitive advantage that the club has with the fan base and the passion that the fans have for the team and the support that they get from the team, for the team, I should say. And I think just a realization of the moment that they're living in, like, this is the window. This is it. This is the list. Give or take maybe 1 or 2, 3 that change every year. when you go to the draft and bring in new kids or free agents, but this is it. And, you're either going to go through the next couple of years and then some of them are going to retire and they're going to have nothing, or they're going to have something to show for it. So I think just realizing where they're at.
Yeah. We'll always remember the Crippers and the probably Walshes, but what about Newman? If we waste this window of opportunity, we might not remember some of the names who, consistently, produce their best. With Newman was certainly one of our best this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's the questions I've got.
Yeah, just going back to that last question, you also got the inspiration probably of the AFL, the doc. We've got to do some of these players proud. Can't just. We've got to do something. Something's got to happen. And the fans. I was looking at a post on Instagram today. We have the second highest fan base that turned up to games or something like that. And say we got all one stadium with our home ground advantage, and our ceiling was the best in the comp, then we're unstoppable. It's unbelievable how good we can be. And
Got to get to the MCG for finals footy, don't we?
Yeah. We really do. I got one last question. Obviously, it's coming up to this time of year. Who will the Carlton Football Club let go, and not who won't get a contract in 2025?
Hard to determine.
Not sure where Dom McQuay's at, and if that's looking like we're going to see him start playing footy sooner rather than later. I think the obvious names that people have been talking about this year is, Jack Martin, Dave Cunningham, Caleb Marchbank. I've got a feeling one of them will stay, and I reckon it'll be Jack Martin. I don't know why. Just got this feeling. Marchbank, I think, has been one of the most unlucky players with injury. Some of the collision injuries that he's suffered over his time, I really feel for him. So I don't know what his well-being is like, and his mental health. It'd be really tough being in the league and knowing you're good enough and training to play, and then just constantly getting, cut down by injury. So it's a big question mark there. Mate, list management's got big decisions. What do you think?
Such a dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been probably thinking about this for the last, or probably since the game finished, on just looking at, mainly just looking forward, not looking back. But the people that I'm looking at is just like your Sam Durden's type player. It's a hard decision to make, and it hurts to do make this decision too, because obviously it's your club. You don't want to see players leave, but it has to happen, and it's unfortunate. But I do say probably Dom McQuay will not get a contract, Sam Durden, and probably David Cunningham, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with you, Tez. Gut feeling does tell me that Jack Martin will play with the Carlton Football Club next year. Just that weird gut feeling. But that's all the questions that we have. If you would like to ask us any questions, feel free. But that's all we have for the podcast today.
I have a question.
All right, let's hear it.
Can I be a guest on episode 100?
100% you can.
All right. Don't forget me.
Yeah. I wonder how many that would require. How many more seasons? At least 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah. No.
But we're young,
mate. Absolutely. I remember when you reached out and you said, "Can you come on?" And I said, "Look, I don't want to be your first guest, but put some work in." I would say, hope you guys enjoy the journey. I don't know what your plans are with the show, but have fun, be responsible, and
Mm.
enjoy yourselves.
And just thank you so much for coming on. Like, honestly, this has been our biggest episode so far, and you are pretty
No.
inspirational to some people out there. So we do thank you for coming on.
No,
Yeah,
my pleasure. No. Honestly, it's my pleasure. I remember when I started, there weren't many podcasts going around when I started. There was maybe one actual podcast, a Facebook page, and another YouTube channel. So I didn't get to be a guest on too many of the shows that were already there. So I do think it's important to give back. So if I see good work and I see hard work, then I like to get around it. So just keep it up, lads.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so
certainly.
much.
And I love
On-
tuning into your, the Blue BA show and all your content. Yeah, it's very, very informative.
Should call in
Definitely.
sometime for the fan cams.
Sounds good. We'll
Yeah.
definitely be tuning in. So can't wait. Thank you so much for coming on again. I'm your host, Carlton Blues 24, and you are.
Louis from the Perth Blue Baggers pod.
Thanks, guys, and have a good night.
Go Blues.
See ya.
Go Blues.